Where does well. We are back. What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to the Trummer Time Pod. I'm your host, Alex, with my co-host, Christian. And let's talk some topics here today, boys. Christian, you want
Welcome
to start us
back.
off with yeah,
I'm your host Christian with my co-host Alex.
my second tier
I'm the
co-host
host.
out. I am the main host. We're both
I,
main hosts together. Equality.
yes.
Um, yeah, Christian, you want to start us off on the first topic?
Yeah, sure. So one of the things that's been trending a little bit is this blog post that Sam Altman released. Sam Altman's blog is a pretty good read. And basically his post is about AGI and how he thinks it's going to affect the world and his kind of predictions. And he basically makes he calls it three observations. So he makes three, I guess, observations slash predictions. I'll read them right now, but they're pretty interesting. So observation number one is the intelligence of an AI model roughly equals the log of the resources used to train and run it. So logarithmic graph is logarithmic curve is it can present a lot of different ways, but generally it looks like this. It's like one of these, right? So it's like starts really steep and then kind of tapers off a little bit. But as far as I know, log curve doesn't have like an asymptote or anything. So technically it could go, infinitely as far as intelligence goes. So that's his first observation. And he says, the resources are chiefly, or these resources are chiefly training compute, data, and inference compute. It appears that you can spend arbitrary amounts of money and get continuous and predictable gains. The scaling laws that predict this are accurate over many orders of magnitude. Okay, so this basically means that AI will keep getting smarter as we pour more and more money into it. Um, and so there's a kind of interesting tangent story that happened a few weeks ago with Nvidia stock. Al, did you hear about what happened with Nvidia?
Didn't it start going down after DeepSeek and stuff?
Yeah, so DeepSeek was released and Nvidia stock absolutely tanked. Lost like $600 billion in market cap. I'm pretty sure the largest, I may be wrong, the largest market cap lost in one single day or some period of trading in history.
Wow.
Um, because it was also one of the most valuable companies in the world and lost like a huge, like probably 50% of its value or something.
Wow.
Anyway, so this is interesting because it almost contradicts what basically the wisdom of the market said when Nvidia stock dropped. Sam Altman on one hand is saying, well, if we just keep putting in money into AI training systems and whatnot, AI models will continue to get smarter. But then the market says, oh, DeepSeek was able to do it with fewer GPUs, make a really, really smart AI model with a lot less. So therefore, the need for something like NVIDIA or, NVIDIA GPUs is, not as important, or it's a lot less. And I just thought this was silly. I mean, this is my personal opinion. I ended up buying a bunch of NVIDIA on that day when it dropped because what this tells me is that, um, you know, the output we get from an individual GPU is now greater than what we previously thought because of the training methods that were used by the DeepSeek team, assuming they're even accurate, right? China, why would they open source this model, right? That's another question. It's possible that this is not even their best model. It's also possible that they lied about how much they used to train it so that, um, you know, US companies stop investing in AI data centers and training centers. So there's a lot of angles here, but all of it points to the fact that that Nvidia should not have dropped in value. At least that's my take. Obviously, Nvidia is trading at like 30x earnings, so you could also make the argument that it's just not a good valuation. But all that said, it seems like Sam Altman is still heavily bullish on investing in AI and, I mean, building out big training centers, super clusters to train their models. So I thought this was really interesting. That was his first point. Second point was the cost to use a given level of AI falls about 10x every 12 months, and lower prices lead to much more use. So and this one's kind of simple, but it's basically like AI is getting cheaper as it's getting smarter, and this is causing way more people to use it. And so he says you can see this in the token cost from GPT-4 in early 2023 to GPT-4o in mid 2024. Here's the important part: where the price per token dropped about 150x in that time period. Moore's law changed the world at 2x every 18 months. This is unbelievably stronger. Basically, what he's saying is, do you remember Moore's law? Do you know what that is, Al? Moore's law was basically this prediction that this guy, I think Gordon Moore, made back during when the age of computing was upon us, and companies like Intel and others were in their nascent stages, but improving the chips. Anyway, Moore's law is the observation that the number of transistors on an integrated circuit will double every 2 years with minimal rise in cost. Basically, what that means is number of transistors, you can basically think computer is smarter. The chip is smarter. It can do more math and do more computing tasks in a smaller sort of form factor. And it also makes it cheaper. That was 2x every 18 months. What's happening with AI is it's 10x every 12 months. So it's a much faster rate of improvement. 10x versus 2x is insane. That is so much faster. And so his third and final point is the socioeconomic value of linearly increasing intelligence is super exponential in nature. A consequence of this is that we see no reason for exponentially increasing investment to stop in the near future. So in other words, exponentially increasing investment in AI and training AI models, he says he sees no reason for this to stop. Again, sort of bolstering the Nvidia argument, which is kind of separate to this conversation. But he makes a few sort of predictions after these observations, which are really interesting. I think there's like one really, really poignant thing he says here. Hold on. Okay. Here. All right. So this is the quote. I think this is the quote. Agency, willfulness, and determination will likely be extremely valuable. Correctly deciding what to do and figuring out how to navigate an ever-changing world will have huge value. Resilience and adaptability will be helpful skills to cultivate. AGI will be the biggest lever ever on human willfulness and enable individual people to have more impact than ever before, not less. So I think it's just a really interesting time. Obviously, there's so much that can happen. And then there's also this question that I think is in the minds of lots of folks is like, okay, well, the rate of improvement with AI models is just going up and to the right at a crazy pace. It seems like every week there's some breakthrough. Somebody's launching some project that is, Mistral, which was this AI company funded years and years ago, which was super quiet lately, just launched this insanely fast coding agent that it's basically like just super, super fast. And it's apparently very, very high quality as well. I haven't looked at the benchmarks and how it compares to things like Claude Sonnet or others. But the question in my mind right now is, okay, so there's two paths this could go. Path one is things could continue progressing at a really, really rapid pace. And then basically all digital work is going to be taken over by AI, right? There's just no reason for humans to be involved if AI becomes smarter than the smartest humans, or at least these LLMs become smarter than the smartest humans. Path two is LLMs may not actually be the AI model type that unlocks AGI or even super intelligence. Basically, like, it may not be the thing that unlocks the AI that's smarter than all humans. Because, LLMs were kind of stumbled upon. Like, a lot of people don't realize this, but, OpenAI, when it was started, was experimenting with a ton of different AI models. or different approaches to creating artificial intelligence. And the way they found LLMs and basically GPTs, these transformers, was a really interesting accident. Basically, what they did when you're training a model, this is generally how it works. Not all AI is the same, but you basically give it a large set of data, and then you say, all right, here's the input, and then you basically let the AI model predict an output, and then you say, all right, but here's the right answer to the AI model, and then the AI model says, okay, I see where like I okay, here's I'm seeing the correct output, um, and then this was my output, my guess, and then I'm going to adjust the weights inside of my model to hopefully get closer to the correct output in the next iteration. And you do that, so many times, just a ton of times. That's the idea with training data, is like you want to have a ton of these cases where you have the input and then a correct output, and you can feed those into this training algorithm to essentially just optimize the weights inside of that model. And then eventually you get a model that can take an input and then give a correct prediction, a prediction that's very close to that's very accurate. So the interesting thing is that there's this concept called overfitting, where let's say you give it an input, you give the AI model an input, and you have your training data, right? Your correct, accurate output. And let's say you just give it one question and you have one answer. So you say, ChatGPT, what is the color of my chair? And the training and the correct output is brown, right? And you train it on that one test case so many times that now the AI just starts to match the training data exactly. So you don't get any generalization. You basically just get this mimicry, right? It's like a parrot. It's like it heard it, it knows the answer, so it just spits back the answer when it gets that question again. And that's called overfitting, where the AI model just starts to mimic the training data and not actually perform any generalization or sort of broad reasoning. So that's one issue. But what OpenAI team found a while ago was that they accidentally let a training process run for way longer than it was supposed to, way past the overfitting period, and they unlocked what was very surprising, which after this overfitting period, this overfitting plateau, the AI started to get really smart and then create generalization. So it's kind of like this S curve in intelligence, where it seemed like, okay, well, after this point, we overfit the model and now it's not producing anything useful. But they left it, they kept it, they allowed it to keep training for days and days and days. And then it actually started producing these generalizations, and it was smarter than it was. And so that's how LLMs became the central approach toward producing AGI. And what's really interesting is that it's totally possible that LLMs kind of max out as an approach to producing artificial general intelligence. It's possible that it's not the right approach and it can only get so smart. Maybe there's only so much that an LLM actually can do as far as informational or knowledge related tasks. So that's kind of one of the interesting pieces that I think not a lot of folks are talking about. But anyway, that's my take on it. I think we're in really interesting times. Do you have any thoughts, Al?
You're mentioning how Altman's talk, well, how there's like an exponential, increase in the power and the investment theoretically that can be put into AI, but then backtracking to how LLMs were kind of like, started, you guess that their growth can only go so far, right? To getting towards
Well,
super
I'm more
intelligence.
saying that there's two paths, right? LLMs may be the right guess,
Mm.
works, and then like we can just continue to invest in training them and make them smarter than all humans, or the smarter than the smartest humans. Or there could be a path where we see a plateau, and then it's like, okay, actually there is a limit here, and maybe it has to do with I don't know what I could hypothesize about why it might not be the right approach, but it's possible, right? Like my point is just that there's no like theory dictating how intelligent LLMs could get, Like we don't know if there's a cap. So Sam Altman is basically saying right now we have no indication that investment in training these things and trying to make them smarter will stop in the near term. We don't think we've even scratched the surface, or maybe we're only at the tip of the iceberg as far as the limits of LLMs.
Gotcha. Yeah, no, that's
There's also
interesting. And
there's also a lot of other kinds of intelligence too, right? Like we of course, um, we know that LLMs are useful for language, right? Like speech, or I mean, just anything where you have text input, text output. Um, but obviously now we know that there's like multimodal, right? There's you can ask it to generate an image. You can provide an image, and then it gives you an image as a result too. I don't exactly know how that works, but it's possible that when it comes to things like, I don't know, like digit manipulation, fingers, right? Like motor cortex is a really, really uh, it's a large part of our brain, and not a lot of other mammals have nearly as much sort of biological compute dedicated to manipulating like digits like we do. Like you can move your fingers very precisely. You have a lot of little neurons in here. You can feel pressure. Like the work that you do, Alan, in dentistry is kind of a testament to that. So like LLMs very likely won't be able to solve that kind of intelligence, right? At the end of the day, it is a form of intelligence. So there's inputs and outputs, but the inputs are physical world sensations from like our fingertips, in the neurons in our fingertips, not neurons, nerve endings in our fingertips. So
yeah,
anyway, yeah, there's lots of other types of AI models that could be built. It doesn't have
yeah.
to be LLM.
Speaking of digit manipulation with AI and robots and stuff, have you heard any updates on Brett Adcock and his AI robot endeavors?
Yeah, good question. So they now are live with multiple customers.
Oh,
They
nice.
have shipped humanoid robots to, I think Daimler was one of their first customers, but I think they also had another Fortune 500 customer as well. And so they are actively shipping humanoids to manufacturing facilities. And one of the things that's interesting that happened lately is that they terminated their collaboration agreement with OpenAI. They were originally collaborating, and then Brett Adcock was like, "Sorry, we're done, Sam," and terminated their OpenAI agreement because they apparently had some sort of major breakthrough with like an end-to-end AI model that is going to be really, really powerful for you know movement, like physical robot movement, as well as um, language and other things like that. So they seem to be also on a separate path as well, building in the physical world, sort of intelligence for the physical world.
Yeah. And just to I don't know if you can see my screen, Chris, but I'm just sharing it's his company is Figure.ai, Figure AI. So here's some kind of like video clips of their AI robots that they have. You can kind of click around. Here's the AI section. So um, yeah, I'm interested to see where all this goes because I know even Hormozy was talking about how he thinks like robots are going to be like one of the next big things. So interested to see where that goes and all. But
Totally.
yeah,
Yeah, a lot of interesting stuff happening on this front. One of the things that I'm kind of curious about is, well, actually, Hormozy had a really good X post. I'll just read it because I think it's super cogent. Here's what he says, and this is in the line of with all of these LLMs being able to create software and do a lot of information or knowledge work tasks really, really efficiently, and with very high quality, higher than a lot of people working in these spaces. This is what Alex Hormozy says. He says network effects, brand, distribution, and data. These are the competitive advantages in a world where all products can be made insanely fast, well, and cheaply with AI. So it's kind of like, if I can go tell an AI agent, build me Facebook clone, build me a clone of Facebook, and it will build a perfect clone of Facebook. But does that mean that I've now disrupted Facebook? Absolutely not. Why? Because Facebook has this thing called network effects. All the people are already on it. Therefore, nobody's going to come join my social media site just because I was able to build it and it has all the same features as Facebook. Nobody's going to come join my site when they could just use the one that everybody's already on. So network effects, that's what Hormozy is talking about here in as competitive advantage number one in a world where everything can be built really, really quickly and easily. So yeah, I wrestle with that a lot because I get a lot of from like the technical side of things, building things. But if AI is kind of going to disrupt engineering as a practice, um, or as a discipline or as a skill, it just makes you it makes you kind of sad. It's like, okay, well, I mean, then ultimately AI is going to be able to do that better than me, and the thing that I find to be valuable is not as valuable as I think it is.
Nah, I mean, I feel like there's always going to be a place for skills, and like you were mentioning earlier, AI is just going to kind of supplement or be the tool for people's agency and determination, So maybe an engineer with that engineering AI is going to be better than, a layperson. So there's always, but yeah, theoretically at the very end extreme of the evolution of this stuff, interested to see. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
Um,
it does make me think that like if you do want to build a software product in the near future, I think over the next couple of years, the window is still open. Maybe even the next 2 or 3 years, the window is still open as far as um, building valuable software products that I think nowadays, like if you're starting a software company and you're hiring people or raising VC, you better be building something that's going to require a lot of marketing and you're building a network effect around it. That's my first take. Like you better be focusing on something with network effects, because if you're building a software product that doesn't have network effects and you're raising VC to do it, it better be something that has so many complicated sort of policies, like well, actually, let me not even say that. I'll just say something like this. A software like ClickUp. Have you ever used ClickUp, Al?
yeah, briefly, but not
Okay.
much.
I'll just use an example everyone knows. HubSpot. Everybody's heard of it at least. It's a super big platform. It has tons of functionality, tons of features. If you're planning to build a clone of HubSpot, that would make sense to raise VC. But in 2015, the team that you would have needed to go raise VC and build that product, you would have needed a 200-person team and $50 million of venture capital just to go like build that product. But now you might only need a team of 10 or 20 people and just have a really, really solid AI workflow so that you can build with AI and do it really efficiently with high quality. Um, so I guess my advice is, if you are planning to build like a big company in software, build one that has network effects, build one that basically still requires, well, network effects is going to be your moat. That's going to be your competitive advantage, not the actual product itself or because all things are going to be sort of very high quality and very easy to build very soon. However, I still think like in the next couple of years, like solopreneurs can build, micro SaaS products or even just full subscription software that disrupts other subscription software at just like lower cost. I think that's the phase we're in now, is like we're not in that novelty phase anymore where like you can have a unicorn that just builds a really unique product that nobody else is doing. I think we're in the phase now where all of the competition is coming for all of the incumbent SaaS products that exist that don't have things like network effects. Canva, Figma. Well, Figma has kind of like a community on its own, but anyway, a lot of these kind of products that are just SaaS products. So
Mhm.
yeah, in the world of software, that's I would say there's a lot of opportunity for sort of solopreneurs and small teams to go get a slice of the pie, um, and the incumbents should probably be worried. But yeah, that's my take.
Yeah, yeah. Did you have any other thoughts